Hello everyone and welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com, and before we begin with our new to iOS 8 class, I just want to give you a couple of quick pieces of advice. The first is that anytime you're going to be upgrading any of your devices, whether it's your phone, your tablet, or even your computer, it's a really good idea to back up your data first. That way, if anything happens to go wrong during that process, you're safe. And the other thing I did want to recommend is that when upgrading to iOS 8, which is of course a free upgrade, it is really important that you be connected to broadband internet, meaning not DSL. Every client who I've worked with who's come in to see me after their phone tried to upgrade and failed usually causes some pretty severe problems, and you have to end up wiping the entire phone. So please make sure you're hooked up to cable internet or faster should you have access to fiber optic. So without any further ado, let's get to our new to iOS 8 class, coming up on PCClassesOnline.com. Hello everyone and welcome to the class. Today we are talking about iOS 8. One of the things I tend to like to mention when we do our classes is the date. Today's date is September 11th of 2014, and the reason why I mention that is I want to make sure that you are all aware that things could change, obviously, as iOS 8 is out for a period of time. Right now, this is actually a week before it's going to come out publicly. So many of the features you're going to see here are going to all be identical to the version that will hit the public on that date. However, they may update and tweak some minor features and of course release new features as time goes on. Let's get started. Let's talk about the major changes that you're going to find in iOS 8. Like they have done in the past with several other versions of the operating system for the iPhone and iPad, a lot of what iOS 8 is about is refinement changes, just kind of tweaking and modifying little settings to just make it easier, a little bit more fun, and add of course a few new features. For starters, we're going to go right now into settings. I'm going to show you some of the new features you'll find here. Starting with, we're going to go here into where you'll see General Settings. And in General Settings, we're going to actually go into Siri. There's a new feature that you're going to find in Siri where if your phone is plugged in and receiving power, you can actually activate Siri without even touching your phone. You'll see it's the second option down here, and it's called Hey Siri. And you'll notice that when I did that, it activated Siri. So let's cancel out of that and just give it a shot. Right now, my phone is plugged, in fact, into my computer, so it's receiving power, and let's just give it a shot. Hey Siri, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow?
Should be sunny tomorrow.
You'll also notice that as you're speaking to Siri, it now shows you the text just like they do in dictation on the Mac. And that feature, by the way, is across the board. So when you're dictating a text message, it will show you the text as you are speaking. Next feature I'm going to show you, we're going to go back one screen here. We have handoff and suggested apps. This is a new feature I can't really show you tremendously because of the fact that the newest operating system for the Mac, the one that's about to come out, I do not have access to yet. But handoff is a way that you can start something on your phone or iPad and you can continue it where you left off on a different device, such as either your iPad or your Mac. Another new feature is display and brightness you'll now find right here within the main menu. So for any of you out there who have trouble with reading the text on your phone, you can now make the text size a little bit larger or even make all of the text bold right from this setting here in your phone. As Apple tends to do with many of their new operating systems, we also have a few new choices when it comes to wallpaper. So these wallpapers I found are a little bit, they're very plain, they're very simple, but hey, some people like that. Of course, you can still use your photos if you prefer that. But here's an example of some of the different images you'll see here, including the one that I'm using, which is the one you see at the top left of your screen. Moving back, next feature that we're going to go over is iCloud. There's several new features here, and I can't show you all of them only because this is not publicly out just yet. But the first you'll see right there at the top, which is called Family Sharing. Family sharing is really what it says. It's built for families, for groups of people who need to share information, whether it's photos, appointments on a calendar. So let's say mom and dad are busy, the kids have their different sports practices, etc., and everyone needs to get on the same page. You can use family sharing to share one calendar so that everyone knows where each other is at any given time. Another feature of it is photo sharing. So if you go on a family vacation, each person can snap their own photos and they go all into one collective photo album. Another example is music, apps, things like that. All of these things you can share between multiple people. It charges one credit card for any purchases like music or apps, but then immediately everyone else in the family has access to them for no additional charge. The next feature you'll see here, again, I cannot completely show you because it's not fully up and running, which is iCloud Drive. Now, once iOS 8 comes out publicly, we will devote an entire class to talking about iCloud Drive, but it's a really amazing feature and it could really change the way a lot of people out there back up their data. The next feature we're going to go over is Spotlight. Now, Spotlight, for those of you who maybe are not familiar with it, if you put your finger on the screen and swipe down, and please note, not from the tippy top, that's something different, but just generally speaking on the screen here and swipe down, this is what you get. You get Spotlight. And in the past, you've always been able to search through things that are on your phone, like contacts, music, apps, etc. But now you can go even further beyond that. Now you can search for things on the web, you can search for movies that are playing near you, a whole bunch of different things. You can search for apps that are in the App Store, music that's in the iTunes Store, and more. So just to give it a shot, let's say I'm feeling hungry and I feel like I need a pizza. Well, here where I live, we have a little pizza joint called Spiritus, and I just type it in, and even though their information is not actually in my phone, it's using the Apple Maps program to fetch the data. So there I have their phone number and their address, and with one tap I can get in touch with them. So it's a really cool feature. Spotlight got a big overhaul. It's very, very nice. So a lot of times when you would normally be using either Siri or Google to find that information, now you can do it all right from within Spotlight. The next feature I'm going to show you has to do with photos. So let's go into photos right now. Here's one of my many aerial drone photos. I am a drone pilot, just a fun little hobby of mine. And let's go into edit this image. What I'm going to do is actually rotate my phone so you can all see this a little bit better. So here on the left-hand side, we have a new button here, and this is a general enhancement button, but it gives you the ability to change the lighting conditions, change the color, such as saturation, and also turn it black and white. And the black and white button is actually really cool because it goes so much further than just a one-stop shop. You can change the grays, the blacks, the whites. It's really, really cool. So with any of these features, you can tap on the word itself to get in to actually modify it, or this little arrow here to see what adjustments you've already made. So for example, with this image, let's say I want to bring out those blues a little bit more. I can tap here on color, and you'll see that I get a little slide bar on the side, and I can use my finger to scroll up and down, swipe up and down, sorry, and it will add saturation or lower it. You'll also notice there's a little gray dot there. That indicates the original photo. So if you really just want to add just a little pop of color, you can do that. We've got a little screen delay. There we go. And that's how you do that. We have the same filters that we had in the last operating system for the iPhone. That's this little button right here. So if you want to give your photo that little Instagram-like look, you can do that. You can see a few of them there. Also, we have a few new additions to cropping. Now, just like you can in iOS 7, you can pinch to zoom in and zoom out to just crop your image, but you also now have this little dial here on the side. And using that, if your photo isn't perfectly straight, you can just swipe with your finger. Oops, sorry about that. Swipe, and you can see you can actually rotate the image. And what I love about this, same thing we have actually on the Mac in iPhoto, it gives you a little grid, and I tend to like to use the horizon as my guide. I tend to do a lot of nature photos, so usually I can see the horizon. It's just a good good way to measure it and make sure that the photo is completely straight. And that's some of the features you'll find in Photos. Another feature is for those of you who are fans of selfies, you may have been aware that in the previous operating system, if you held down the shutter, it would take multiple photos. It'll now also do that when using the front-facing camera. Wanted to make sure that I mentioned that as well. Another feature, let's go into the camera right now. You're going to see my laptop sitting in front of me, okay, is a lot of people already know this, but if you tap on the screen, it'll tell the phone where to focus. Now, this might be a little bit tough for you to see, but there's a little sun icon next to that. If I move that, that might be a little bit easier. Oops. There we go. So when you do that, you can swipe with your finger up or down, and before you even take the photo, you can change the lighting conditions. So if it's a little too bright for you, you can just swipe down and adjust it accordingly. This is without ever having to edit it. This is pre-editing. The next feature, let's actually go, back into photo, is if you swipe to the left, we have, of course, video, we have slow-mo as we had before, but now we have a brand new time-lapse mode. We're going to show that off in a future video. So with this feature, you really just need to, is there a piece of popcorn on my computer? Gone. Oops. Now it's gone. Sorry, clearly I'm working very, very hard today. So with time-lapse mode, you can put your phone on a tripod. They do make tripods out there for the iPhone, and just hit record, and it will automatically take a photo. It will figure out how often to do it, and when you're done, you'll tap that little red button again, and it will turn it into time-lapse video. Very, very cool feature. Very excited to get to test that out very soon. The next feature I want to show you has to do with social sharing. So let's go into this photo once again, and we're going to hit the little share button that you see there at the bottom left corner of my phone. And this is actually left over from the last time I taught this class live, but for most of you, you would normally see this. They would have messages, mail, Twitter, Facebook, and Flickr. Well, what if you don't actually use some of those? Or what if you want to move the order? Now you can. See that little button that says More? You can just tap on that, and you can now actually tell it to turn off any of Twitter, Facebook, or Flickr. You can also use those little buttons you see here on the side to move the order. So if I really want to give Facebook top priority, I can move it to the number 1 position, and you'll see here when I hit Done, slight screen delay, there we go. It's now over here on the left. That's another new feature. Next thing we're going to go over is iMessages. Now, when you get in a message and you're just kind of on your phone, a lot of you are used to this, where it'll give you a little notification from the top. It'll kind of come down. You can now swipe down from that and respond to the text message. I can't really do that right now since I don't have any friends on standby to text me. But another feature is now group texting, and I actually have a little conversation here set up. Let's go in right here. So when you're doing a group text in the past, it would get kind of annoying, at least speaking from my own preference on that. But now you can go here into Details, which you see at the top right, and you can actually add or remove people at any point during this conversation. Very cool feature. Let's go back. Actually, I'm going to go into that other conversation here to show you the next feature. You'll see here that above the keyboard, we have a new predictive text feature. Now, some people are going to love this, especially those of you with clumsy thumbsies. Others of you might not. If you don't want it, I do want to show you how to turn the feature off. If you don't want it, all you have to do is press and hold on that middle button right there and swipe down, and it'll hide it. And then if you want to ever bring it back, just press and hold right here on this little bar and swipe up. Very simple. Another feature in text messaging, or rather iMessaging now, is you can send not just one, but multiple photos or video clips, whatever you like. Another feature that you'll notice is if you look at the bottom left corner of my keyboard, there's a little smiley face icon. So now, instead of having to hit, for example, colon and then close parentheses when you want to insert a smiley face, you actually have a button to add all those different emoji icons right here. And as you can see here, based on the dots that we see here, there are multiple pages of emoji, keeping the 16-year-old in you very, very busy. And finally, right here on the right-hand side, we have a new feature where you can insert a voice memo into a text message. So let's say here I want to harass my friend Chip. I can press on this and slide up. So right now you can see it's recording my voice, and Chip's about to find out that I'm using him once again in one of my live classes. And if I swipe up, it's going to send him that message. If I'm recording and I accidentally screw up, I can slide to the left to cancel it out. Just like that. We're probably going to get a text message from him saying, "Quit using me as your example." Next, we're going to go over Notification Sender. Now, this is when you swipe down from the top of your phone. Let's swipe down. You can see here my next thing to do is to teach a live class on, I don't know why I put iOS 7, it should be iOS 8. But anyways, you'll see, of course, just as you have in the past, your next event. And for many of you, I have it currently turned off on my phone. You'll see the weather. Minor change is that now that weather information is no longer coming from Yahoo, it's now coming from the Weather Channel. So maybe now it might even be accurate. Bum, bum, bum. Next feature we're going to talk about, let's get out of that, is multitasking. Now, one of the features a lot of people use all the time is switching back and forth between apps, otherwise known as multitasking. Now, when you double click the home button, that would be the button down here at the bottom, you're going to see a slightly new feature. So here we have the same things that you were used to before, where you can go back and forth between the different apps that you were in, but now also you'll see recent people you've been in contact with. Now, the first list is recent, but if you swipe from left to right, it'll also go to your favorites. So let's say I want to call my friend Steve. Hey, we can show that quick feature. I just got a message from Chip. I just pulled down on it, and you can see that now I can type right back to him without even having to go into iMessages. That worked out pretty well. So now when you're in multitasking, you'll notice that here at the very top part of the screen we have a new feature where you can instantly get back in touch with people who you've been corresponding with, whether through email, phone calls, or iMessages. And the first list that you'll see here is called recent. So these are just people I've recently talked to. But if you swipe from left to right, you'll actually go back to your favorites list. So for those of you who have people who are saved in your contacts as favorites, you can also immediately get back in touch with them. So let's say I want to chat with my friend Steve. I can tap on his little name there, and I can immediately start a phone call with him, iMessage, or FaceTime conversation. The next feature I'm going to show you is in Mail. So let's go into the Apple Mail program here, and I'm going to attempt to show this. We had a little problem with the video keeping up when I went over this before. So many of you are aware that in the past, if you wanted to delete a message from this screen, there were two different ways to do it. You'd either hit the edit button at the very top right and then select the messages you wanted to delete, or you could slide your finger from right to left, and there'd be an option to send it to the trash or archive it based on whichever email program you use. Well, now you can actually swipe, and if you swipe with a little bit of force, I don't know if you could see that well at all. If you swipe with some force from right to left, it will immediately archive it. Yeah, we're still having a little bit of a problem with the video feed keeping up here. So let's see if I can do it really slowly, and you'll see that if you just keep going, it immediately archives it. Very simple. Cool feature there. And by the way, one little thing just to keep in mind is if you ever make a mistake while doing that, there is an undo button on the phone. Technically, it's not even a button. All you have to do is shake your phone. So let's say you have a ton of text that's selected and you hit delete, shake your phone, and you get a little button that'll pop up that says, do you want to undo the last action? Another feature I want to show you is in Safari. So sometimes when you go to a website, let's say I go to CNN, okay? Sometimes when you go to a website, it automatically loads the mobile version of a website, and not everyone out there really wants the mobile version. I know myself, I usually convert it back over to the desktop site, and in the past you had to scroll down to the very bottom of the website, and there was a little button usually that would say go to the desktop version. Now it's a little bit easier. Now you can just tap right here into the address bar, and when you do, just swipe down on this screen here, and you'll see that there's a button now to request the desktop site. So that'll convert it into the normal version that you would view on your laptop or desktop. Another feature worth mentioning, and actually we can go back into text messages, is that there are multiple keyboards that are going to be available. These are not available as of today's date, so unfortunately I cannot show you. But once again, when those features are available, we will of course do a class on many of them. Next feature we're going to talk about is the Health app. This is a brand new feature. For those of you out there who have a Fitbit or some sort of a pedometer that talks to your iPhone, those can now gather information inside Apple's own Health app. Now, because iOS 8 is still technically speaking in sort of a beta, even though this is technically the GM copy, I've noticed that my pedometer app is not yet communicating with this app, but it'll gather all of your information, your health data. You'll also notice that here at the bottom right corner, there's now a medical ID button. So you can put all of your important information like your medications, allergies, medical conditions rather, allergies, medications, whether or not you're an organ donor, and other information like your spouse, etc. So you can put that all in right there. Next feature, and I have it hidden right now in a folder that I where I put apps that I do not ever use. There's a new Tips app. So if you want to learn more about basically what I've just shown you, you can learn these little tricks here from within the app. I did find it a little strange that they put this in there and didn't give you a way to delete it, since it's the kind of feature that a lot of people are probably not going to ever use. So you can copy me and you can create a folder called Rarely Used, or as I call it on my iPad, crap that I don't use, and just bury that particular app. Next feature, it's worth mentioning, even though, once again, I cannot show it to you, is the fact that if you have an iPhone and an iPad, and even a Mac, you can now answer phone calls or even place phone calls from your iPad or your Mac. The feature to enable that is actually on those devices. I will let you know right now that if you have an iPad, you're going to go into Settings, and in Settings, go into FaceTime. I know it doesn't make sense that that would be where it would be located, but in FaceTime settings on your iPad, you'll find the option to accept phone calls from your iPhone. So if your phone's in the other room and it's ringing, but you have your iPad with you, you can use your iPad as a phone. Obviously, that means it's going to be in speakerphone mode, so if there's anyone else in the room, unless you're wearing headphones, they're going to hear your conversation. And the same will eventually be true on your Mac. Well, everyone, that about does it for our class on iOS 8. I hope you've enjoyed this today. For those of you out there who maybe have not heard of PCClassesOnline.com, we are a completely free public service. We have members currently in over 170 countries, and there are no hidden fees of any kind. I do this because I love teaching. This is my passion, and I love being able to share it with all of you. So I hope you'll check out our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll hopefully see you at one of our future live classes. This is David A. Cox, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care.